How's this concept for a spoiler review? As somebody who just gave Halloween Ends an 8 out of 10, I'm going to look at all of the gripes that you guys have submitted because a lot of you despise this film, and that is okay. I understand it. I really do, and I've heard your points. I've heard the aspects that most unsettle you and bother you. I understand them. And we're going to talk about all of them. So this is going to be all about the most controversial points. We're going to look at this film's lack of Michael Myers and its apparently disrespectful treatment of the character. We're going to talk about Corey Cunningham and if he had any place in this movie or if his plotline was for naught. We're going to talk about this movie having a supposed lack of kills and feeling like a Lifetime movie with the way that it focuses on relationship and talking amongst characters. And we're going to talk about the final confrontation in Act 3, which a lot of you thought was way too brief and not satisfying in the slightest. I thought it was a triumphant end for this trilogy. So there you go. Let's do this. You're a fan. I'm a fan. We all love this franchise. We may see it differently, but if we can't exchange ideas and viewpoints, then what is the freaking point and what is the fun of being a fan? So let's have some fun. Let's do it. Here's my spoiler review for Halloween Ends. All right, let's not pussyfoot around. The first point we need to address is the man, the myth, the legend, the shape, Michael Myers. Now, if you didn't get as much Michael as you expected to, that is a fair criticism. That is a fair gripe, especially with the way this movie was marketed, because they really pushed this as if they were trying to sell tickets to like a wrestling match. It was pretty much like, in this corner, Laurie Strode, and in this corner, Michael, the Shape, Myers. On October 14th, it all goes down. A ticket gets you the entire seat, but you're only going to need the edge. That's really how they sold this, and that's not necessarily what this movie was at all. And so if that pissed you off, hey, that's fair game. But I have to say, it didn't necessarily feel like there was a lack of Michael Myers. I felt like this was kind of a classic horror movie type of thing to do. And it kind of elicited ideas of things like Jaws.
Michael Myers is a killer shark. Baggy ass overalls.
The shark in Jaws is not really on the screen all that much, but I'll be damned if when you look out at the water, you don't feel the presence. While characters are talking and exchanging stories, you're thinking about that shark. And this movie definitely brought that with Michael Myers to me. And they really did a lot to boost that. I mean, you look at the cinematography of this movie, there's subtle little suggestions of the shape and the fact that the trees are completely bare and the town looks kind of cold and decrepit. This is not a Halloween atmosphere and the way of having trees just full of like golden and brown, orange leaves. No, they are bare. All the leaves are on the ground and the trees just look wicked and dead and cold because this town is fractured and it is still very much dealing with the events of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. The effect of the boogeyman still looms large. And Michael Myers is finding his way into every aspect of daily living in Haddonfield. And we even see that when Laurie goes to the grocery store. So I cannot say he is completely absent. Is he not necessarily right there in front of the lens at all times? Yes, but I didn't need him to be. Classically in horror, you don't actually need that with your monster or your antagonist. If that's what you like, that is your preference. I understand that, but it's not necessarily something I need. If we're going places, we have good story, we have characters that I'm becoming attached to, and I can root for them. Now, that being said, if what you got from Michael Myers when he was on screen did not jive with you, totally understand. Not all of it really worked for me, but I've come to appreciate that with this franchise, that's just the way it's going to go. Because this was never supposed to go past Halloween 1978. The best way to tell this story, the best way to have mystique and intrigue around the character is to have it end with him going over that balcony, them looking, and he's gone. But we get those shots of you hearing his breathing in every room and feeling presence. Evil is still out there. You cannot stop it. That would have been the best way to do it, but you know what? Money needed to be made, and we needed more of the shape, and you know what? That's fine. I've had a great time with the franchise, but no matter what, you're going to over-explain, and you're going to go and explore the evil and do things that are not going to sit right with everybody when you try to put your stamp on things. And so I totally get it. If you don't like seeing Michael kill somebody in a sewer and have like a weird full-body orgasm, it looked goofy. That's a part that didn't necessarily work for me. I'll give you that. And if you don't like him gazing into Corey's eyes and whatever was going on there's a little bit of ambiguity, which I actually like, that you could come up with your own fan interpretation of things. You could either say that for the first time ever, Michael looked into someone's eyes and it was like looking into that window and seeing the reflection of his own eyes, these eyes we've heard so much about throughout the history of this franchise from Loomis and co.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
You could say that, or you could say that he was using his supernatural capabilities to look into his eyes and to transport some form of evil and capability into the body of Corey Cunningham. Either interpretation I am fine with. I thought that the way that it was kind of demonstrated was a little bit off, but there were some cool visuals, and ultimately I'm okay with it because none of this is entirely new. Like I talked about, we've always talked about Michael's eyes, and this didn't come out of left field because now we know they kind of did set it up in Halloween Kills with him gazing out of that window or just maybe looking into the reflection of his own eyes. So I am okay with that. Not to mention, it's hardly the first time we've done something weird and added some new supernatural thing that we are seeing with Michael Myers. I mean, just look at Halloween 2. In the first film, he seems like a man, a creepy ass man that there's something off about. He may be more than a human. He may be preternatural. But in Halloween 2, he's suddenly kind of moving like a robot through the choices of Dick Warlock. He's holding the girl's head down in that boiling tub. Her skin is deteriorating and bubbling up and kind of falling off of her face, but his hand is unaffected. He's already been shot 6 times in the first movie, but in Halloween 2, he takes another full clip, including 2 shots to the face, even the eyeballs, and it doesn't matter. He just keeps coming forward. It's not necessarily the character that was in Halloween 1978. Halloween 4, I mean, this is a character that in the first film struggled to choke out high school girls with a telephone cord, and now with ease, he's guiding his thumb through the forehead of his victim. He's teleporting around and seemingly showing up when it wouldn't be possible for him to do that. And of course, he passes on his evil to his niece and either possesses her or imbues her with the same supernatural evil force that imbues him. That, of course, is very, very extreme and supernatural, and a lot of us have come to love it. I mean, I'm wearing a Halloween 4 shirt, so we can get on board with that. Then as we go forward, we're going to have more of these movies. There's going to be things that maybe on first glance are a little uncomfortable or feel like we're going too far, getting too wily. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just true to the franchise. Halloween 5 gets real weird. Michael goes into a sleep for a year, doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to poop, doesn't need to shower, doesn't need to do any of those things, and he just wakes up on Halloween night. We see that. Oh, but now he's also got a tattoo out of nowhere, and it links him to the secondary evil, this man in black. Halloween 6, we get into all sorts of Samhain stuff, or we get into this Celtic cult, we get into runes, we get into forced impregnation. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, we have some sort of evil entity masquerading as Michael's mother, being accompanied by this rageful white horse. There's always been supernatural weirdness. We've always done it. We cannot act like this is a first time we've seen something like this. Well, where did that come from? That ain't right. That's not Michael Myers. No, if we're going to make more Halloween movies, guess what? We're going to see some supernatural weirdness. This was just David Gordon Green's version of it. And I was okay with it. Didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And I also don't think it's some sort of inexcusable thing that we've never seen before. Now, from what I understand, a lot of fans also didn't like Michael's mask coming off, and I've never really understood that. I understand it as a preference, but I do not understand it as a cardinal sin, because in Halloween 1978, the mask comes off. We see Tony Moran's face. So if that hadn't happened in the first movie, then I would say, yeah, of course, don't do that. But when the predecessor, the OG, the one that sets the rules and defines all of everything, does it, then I think it's fair game to do it, especially if this is how we're going to bookend events. Lori took the mask off then, she should get to take the mask off now and look her abuser, her oppressor in the face. It makes sense to this theme of trauma. And it just makes sense because every time I watch a freaking horror movie with friends or family, especially slasher movies, anytime the killer is incapacitated, everyone's like, take the mask off, come on, you know you would. Of course she's going to do it. It doesn't bother me at all, but I guess I can understand if it bothers you. And my last point about Michael Myers and his depiction, and this is the biggest one, him being overpowered by Corey. Look, I get it. I actually kind of like that Michael is aging and getting weaker, that you're seeing that this evil, all this stuff we've talked about with him, all these things that we've kind of theorized about him, that's all fine and great, but he's a human vessel at the end of the day. We saw him as a child, we saw him as a teenager, and now the years continue to go by. His foil, the person he's crossing the stars with, Laurie Strode, she's continuing to age. She's beginning to break down, and we are seeing that. They deserve one another, and so the fact that they are now on like a level plane, I find that extremely and immensely entertaining and interesting and fresh. But that being said, a little restraint. You know, I don't need to see everything on camera. So seeing Corey just kind of bitch him out and bully him and take the mask off of him, it was uncomfortable. I don't hate it. I don't love it for sure. I don't like it. I wish they had found a workaround or demonstrated that in a different way. But I understand that. So if you're like, dude, that really just sticks in my craw. That really freaking irritates the ever living hell out of me. I got nothing for you. I can understand if that is something in this movie you're like, you know, I may come around one day, but I'll never come around on that. Yeah, man, I get it. Hooey, this is going to be a long video. All right, on to point 2, the supposed lack of kills, that this was boring and there wasn't enough of a body count. Man, do I disagree. I thought there were some really good kills, and it starts with the intro, which I thought was a fantastic hook. It's a familiar setup. It feels very much like Laurie Strode watching Lindsay and Tommy in the original film, except now this is a failed attempt at babysitting. Laurie was able to protect the kids and keep them alive. Doesn't happen for Corey. He ends up causing the kids death. And there are all sorts of little nods and visual cues that made you think of the original, except we're subverting it and throwing all the expectation on the head. And for me, that was riveting and that was gripping. And what we did see of the kid's death was dark and unsettling and gross, but holy shit are the effects by Christopher Nelson in this film fantastic, especially once we get further along in the movie. When we get to like that Christine junkyard, the mechanic shop, and you almost have like a spree kill to where we find a body with a rod driven into the eye socket and there's just blood pouring down the face. There's some gore, there's some viscera for you. Who doesn't like eyes being stabbed through? And you have the girl about to be killed with the wrench. That was heavy, but I'll understand. I wish I got to see more of that one. I'll give you that. The girl being trapped underneath the fence. I've never seen that in a movie that I can think of. I didn't know where that was going to go. That had me on the edge of my seat and holding my breath. That was effective. And a kid takes a torch to the mouth. How do you not love that? That's fucking fantastic. And then at the radio station, you're going to tell me that's not a good kill? That's one of my favorite freaking kills in this entire franchise now, I do believe, because it was darkly comedic and it seemed a little bit meta and it was visceral and it was brutal. I mean, he bashes this dude's head in. The jaw is kind of hanging out. The face is completely disconfigured. The tongue gets severed off in a nice little practical effect. And then it lands on that spinning record. And every time it comes through and hits the needle, it just kind of plops and plops and plops. And it was hilarious. And when you think about what that character is a sit-in for, us, the fans, and us on YouTube and us in forums right here just spousing all of this stuff, all these theories, all these thoughts about Michael, his origins, how he works, what drives him, what he can do, what he can't do, all these unfounded just ideas and assertions. He's a stand-in for us. And to have a director come and just get aggressions out on that character and to do it in a funny, dark, violent way, thought that was spectacular. And of course, the kill of the doctor. I don't know if that's going to get enough praise. I don't know if enough people talk about that. I thought that was a really good kill because it's so sudden. The girl flicks the light, and the first thing you review, your eyes fix on Corey sitting there in this creepy, ghastly scarecrow mask that is just grinning. He's like crisscross applesauce almost, and he has the doctor backed up to him, and he's just going into it, and it shows you, oh, Corey ain't here anymore. He has snapped. He is now evil. He is, for all intents and purposes, a new brand of evil in Haddonfield, and other people are going to like that. But that's a great kill. Like the tempo of it, the speed and veracity of it, and the way that it was set up, and the way that your eyes come to see it when the light comes on, and the mask. There's so much going into that kill that I thought it was really impressive. And then you get the OG coming in. You actually get real Michael Myers coming in and doing the Bob kill on the redhead. Something for the fans, something for the purists. So at the end of the day, if you were like, I wanted more Michael Myers kills. Yeah, fair game again. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm not here to justly praise on this movie and turn a blind eye to any of the problems. Yes, I would have liked more from Michael Myers. But I have to say, what I got from Corey was spectacular. And the one nod to one of the best kills in the entire franchise, complete with the head tilt, it was nice. It was a good bit of homage. I thought that was respectful. My only problem was I wanted to see the girl get killed by the wrench at the junkyard lot. I needed to see Corey's mom die. The little bully who got the torch in the mouth, he was one of those really awful slasher characters who's actually awesome because you hate him so freaking much that you just root for a satisfying death. He got a satisfying death. She did not. I needed more out of that. I'll give you that. That was a missed opportunity. She's kind of like Carrie's mom. And another thing about it, Corey Cunningham is very much a Carrie character because he is somebody who has been mistreated and has been ostracized and oppressed by his surrounding and been bullied and mistreated to where he is hurt, and hurt people. So it makes sense that he's essentially a stand-in for Carrie who goes on a spree killing, and that his mother is very much Carrie's mother. She's at one moment extremely affectionate. She even gives him a kiss, and it's gross and it's weird. But other times, she's way, way too much, and she's overbearing, and she's on his case, and she's harsh, and she has this cold worldview and thinks everybody's out to get them. that stuff works for me. So that being said, though, she's easy to hate, just like Carrie's mom was, and she needed a satisfying death. So missed opportunities there, missed opportunity with the girl with the wrench, missed opportunity with Corey's mom, and missed opportunity to not show us Darcy, the male ghoul, get killed at the radio station. The DJ kill was great. I want to see her kill, and I can't wait to see it on the special features. All right, now let's hit a real sensitive subject. Let's talk about Corey Cunningham, a character that some of you are like, doesn't belong. He's not a Halloween character. Why is there a secondary evil in this final chapter? I'll give you that. That is another problem I have with the movie. Corey should have been brought in earlier. But they did a good job exploring him here in this movie. They do give him a lot of time to kind of flesh him out and get you interested. Like I said, I have so much praise for what they do in that opening. They make him a sympathetic character. You do kind of see a little bit of yourself in him, and he's easy to root for. But then he starts slowly turning into this dark force, you know what I mean? And it makes sense, it's plausible, and it seems modern. It seems like a modern exploration of evil. We live in the time of mass shootings, of disaffected people going out and trying to hurt because they are hurt. And people saying that it doesn't make sense for Allison to be into him and to be drawn to him. I have news for you. Just like hurt people, damaged people oftentimes link up with damaged people. I had no problem with that, especially because Rowan Campbell did such an exemplary job as his character. He had so many layers to him. He was so dynamic. Very, very interesting performance, as was Annie Matichak. And seeing them play off of each other was sensational. I mean, in this movie, Annie Matichak, this girl that I've just been wanting to see so much more from since 2018, she finally got her time to shine. And I'm so happy for her because maybe she'll be able to land all sorts of great projects in the future based off the strength of her work in this movie. At times, she was seductive and flirtatious and alluring. Other times she seemed deeply bothered and disturbed and broken. At times she seemed like a character who had your heart, and at times she seemed like somebody you just wanted to shake and be like, girl, what is with you? Come on, see the light. Or you wanted like, please get help. There was so much going on with these characters, and seeing them explore all of this together and try to navigate the ways in which they were broken and what the world saw them as, thought that was good stuff. So I got a lot of love for the Corey character. And when he does turn evil, he gives us a lot of really messed up, fucked up, dark kills. So there is that for my blood fans, my gore hounds, my horror heads. And then ultimately, can we talk about what he does in the third act? Because a lot of you are like, he's pointless. There's no point. He kills, I can't say that word. He unalives himself, as YouTube would have me say. And a lot of you are like, that makes the whole thing for naught. And I say, no, actually, that was a dare that really worked for me because that is a fun, fresh way to explore an evil character. Because in that moment, that is the most evil and malice he could inflict upon Laurie Strode. A woman who has called 911 and said somebody's about to unalive themselves. Which, can we just give props to that? I never really bought in that she would do it, but I also never expected to be even confronted with the concept of Laurie Strode doing something like that. That she is so destroyed and ruined and has nothing to live for if she loses Allison. That is heavy, and it makes her so sympathetic as a character and makes her move so far up my final girl because she feels so human in this movie. She doesn't feel like Sarah Connor. She feels like a woman who had all sorts of tragedy happen in her life, and if she loses her granddaughter, will have nothing else to live for in her eyes. And Corey knew this. And if he can't have Allison, then no one can. And that could have been a very corny, cliche line, but in this moment where he's saying, look, I know if I drive a knife into my neck, I know Allison's right outside. She comes in and sees you to blame for this. I will have effectively ruined you. I will have done what the boogeyman could not because he shattered you. He destroyed your life, but you're still here. You're not going to be able to keep on ticking if this happens, if you lose Allison. So I thought that was very heavy, very dark, but very smart and very fresh and fun. And one last time for the people in the back, Corey is not one of a kind. We've always had secondary evils in this franchise. This is not a first time, but this was way more intelligently done. The character, we knew way more about him. We got a better sense of who he was. It felt topical, it felt relevant and modern, and we went places with it. So hopefully, if the character still doesn't work for you, you can at least see why it would work for some like myself. All right, if you're still watching, thank you. I'm sorry this is taking so long. I just have so many thoughts about this movie. I'm a passionate fan. What can I say? We got 2 topics left. I will try to pick it up. The little slice of life aspect of this movie was phenomenal to me, because right after that opening, we go into kind of everyday life for Allison, for Hawkins, for Lori, for Lindsay. And it was great to see how these characters have attempted to pick up the pieces and go on to brave life and dare to try to choose to be happy. Because at this point for them, especially Lori, trying to be happy is a choice and a painstaking effort, and exploring that and demonstrating it in the fashion they did, it just made me really attach myself to her and invest everything into her. Coming into the movie, I was like, if she dies, she dies.
If he dies, he dies.
You know, didn't care. I didn't think I would get emotional. But through this movie and seeing her, seeing this development, seeing the relationship she has with Allison, and then seeing her talk to Hawkins in the grocery store, I never knew I needed to see what happens when Laurie Strode just tries to attempt to go grocery shopping, but they made something of it. They showed that Hawkins is trying to bring her out of the darkness as even like, hey, you may need to get out of Haddonfield. But it also made sense that she hasn't, because this is all she knows. And if she leaves, it feels like she's leaving the only place that she has memories with her daughter, her friends, and her family that she has all lost. So I understand why it would be difficult for her to confront all this and just pick up and leave, even though it's pretty enticing because Hawkins is just such a nice, sweet, genial man. That scene, that was great. That is not Lifetime, guys. Come on. Characters can talk in a movie. People can have development. There can be emotion and it not be Lifetime. It was nice to have a slasher movie where you care about the people and you know who they are at their core. Really good stuff. And then she comes out of the grocery store and we see that woman who somehow survived. It doesn't make sense. I'll give you that. Somehow survived Halloween Kills and seeing her husband be brutally murdered in front of her and be turned into a pincushion by Michael Myers. And how now she has made Lori into the new boogeyman or boogie woman, that Lori's going to become the source of all this town's consternation and hate and ill will, because they need a villain. They need someone to hate. And if Michael Myers cannot be found, if he is absent, they're still feeling the effects. They're going to put all those effects and they're going to make it her. They're going to make her out to be the culprit. Allison as well. And then that starts to happen with Corey. And I think that says so much about the way we view people that have marred by tragedy and are maybe a little bit damaged. I just thought it was good stuff, guys. What can I say? I really thought that this felt like a Haddonfield that existed on Earth, that this was a real world. This wasn't just some movie universe, that people were acting the way they would act. And it wasn't always logical. It could be based in emotion and pain. But you know what? That's real. And speaking of emotion and pain, let's talk about the final act. The final confrontation between the Shape and the prototypical final girl, Laurie Strode. A lot of people said not much happened. It was way too quick. Like I said, I really, really disagree, because everything there happening with Corey that we just talked about, her making that phone call, you're already like, oh my God, I feel so fucking bad for Laurie. And at that point, I was like, you know what, Laurie? Came in this movie saying if you both died, then you both died. Or if only you died, then hey, that would be a new direction and I would be okay with it. And in that moment, I was like, nope. Good on you, David Gordon Green. You have made it to where I need her to win now. This woman's life has been devastation, ruin, and tragedy, and she just deserves to come out of this one alive with her granddaughter. And then they do have this confrontation, and they are on a level playing field because of age, because Michael is a supernatural evil in a human vessel. And I thought it was great because it was quick and it was brutal, but that makes sense if you have ever been oppressed or bullied or beaten on or just made to feel hurt for a very long time. If you have been victimized, you may get to a point to where your frustrations and hate, they just boil up and you unleash hell to where you don't even feel yourself. You are a man possessed. You are seeing red. And Laurie was that woman possessed in that moment. I felt like her actions were so strong, so brazen, and so brutal because it was 40 years of trauma. That buzzword that Jamie Lee Curtis has been banting about ever since Halloween 2018. Trauma, 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 trauma. Here you got to see her just unleash all of that trauma onto the person who inflicted it upon her. I thought that was beautiful and it made sense for the story, and it's a great way to book in things. And it was visceral for people who need action and violence. They made it count because all of that hate, that anger, that pain, it came out in pain being inflicted on Michael Myers. It wasn't just a quick slice of the throat. They did it all to him. I mean, Allison even joins in and snaps his arm, and she's definitely a deeply impacted, affected character as well. So good on her for getting to do that. Good on these women who have been kind of up against each other and butting heads this entire time, coming together to get over on the person who put them in that situation to begin with. And then the whole town gets in on it. And I thought it was beautiful because in Halloween Kills, we failed to properly explore mob mentality and to treat these people like real human beings, not just stupid slasher characters. And now it feels like through exploring a very real feeling Haddonfield and seeing what daily life is like and seeing these characters that have been affected and lost loved ones, you're like, all right, you have your boogeyman, you have your body now. Do it. We need finality. Halloween ends. Things need to end. We never end in this franchise. Let's do it. Let's have some balls. Let's put them on the table. And they do that in a way to where Michael Myers cannot come back in this timeline. We can have future movies, but not anymore. He's had his throat slit. He's been stabbed in the heart. He's had his wrist slit. And now he's been eviscerated. And, Barker, stupid and effectual character who has done nothing in the first 2 films, but I was right there with him when one of the cops was like, this isn't how we do things. And he's like, this is tonight. Absolutely. Stole the words right out of my mouth. I got caught all up in it because of this story, because of this exploration of the characters, and because I was entertained and I was satiated by the kills and the darkness and the exploration of evil along the way. It did things that may not seem like a true blue Halloween film, but on further inspection, if you go back in retrospect and look at all of the sequels we've had since the original, you've seen we've been doing these certain things for a very, very long time. We've just never done them quite as effectively, if you ask me. So there you go. I've addressed all the controversies, all the divisive aspects of the film. I've talked about what doesn't work for me, and I've talked about why it works for me and it may not work for you. You have my thoughts. We can exchange ideas. We can be fans. We can respect each other. Thank you for checking out this extremely long video. I've talked a lot, but I think that goes to show how much this movie means to me as a fan and the type of time that I had with it. I'm so thankful to Blumhouse, to David Gordon Green, to Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis. There you go. I guess they're inextricable at this point to me. To James Jude Courtney, to Christopher Nelson, to everybody who made this new trilogy possible. I didn't love every step of it. I've had problems along the way, but it was truly special to me to have these memories made, to be able to go watch these movies with my loved ones and create memories and a shared experience, and in modern era, be able to explore this franchise that has been so special to me my entire life. So I'm happy. I'm sorry you're not happy. It really pains me that there are fans that are not happy. The best I can do is wish you a great day, and hopefully another Halloween movie isn't too far along or too far out, and maybe that one will work for you better. But until then, I'm Nate from Nate Flick saying that's a wrap.